Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the level 2 recording for June 7th already of 2018, end of semester wrap up. And what I did in, what I did in level 1 was, this is just like we are musicians, we're the band. We've been, and if I'm doing weird things, it's because there's a fly in my room that keeps landing on me. We are like a band that's been practicing together. And we've been learning like, yeah, we're learning this part and we're learning this part too. And then we're learning what happens when we put these two things together. So level 1, what I did was basic recap of this torus shape. Torus shape is an accumulation of a bundle of timelines, possibilities, and probabilities. I said in level 1 I was going to show you this super old sculpture. I think this is really funny. Like, look, this is pretty chewed up. You can kind of see what we got here. I made this so long ago. This is from like 2003. And it is greenware, which is unfired clay. That's why I got so chewed up. It's also been in my backpack and like kind of like banged around through all these different things. But it's a really good representation of the 4 vortices or vortexes that fit together to make this basic shape. And you can see God's giant finger, dimple, or, you know, stretch, stretch, and then one from this side, stretch. But then there's also the implied dimpling or stretching of reality from this direction and also from the other direction. There's that fly. And then you can see here in these spaces that are, you know, shadowed areas, that is the negative space. And negative space doesn't mean bad, wrong, evil, malevolent in any way. It means the space where you put the coffee in your coffee cup. The negative space of my mug is where I hold my water. So because we're talking about like this vortex, this is the area of life where we actually live. And that space in between, that's like a place where energy is not supposed to go there. And this is the representation of those football shapes where energy is not supposed to go. So now we've got the negative space embodied as the positive space. And Gala, a lovely artist who has done some lovely animations and explorations of the flying rainbow lasagna shape, was talking about this and needed a little bit more of an explanation of what is the significance of this shape. And this relates to, very briefly, the flower of life pattern. You can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think you can see in a lot of my paintings, let me just go back to screen share, find something. Wait, before I go to screen share, let me get one more picture up. Wait, stop. Oh my goodness, technology. Come on, go back to my class images where I have everything perfectly. Here we go. Everything perfectly prepared. Squinting and scrolling. I'm looking for something that's got good here. This shows it quite well, but this one shows it pretty well too. There are lots and lots of these. Get an annotation. Now do screen share. Hold on a second. Boy, this is hard sometimes. I have to go like, where's that picture? Where's that thing? Here. Now do screen share. Good. This painting is called Children of True Humanity, with the idea that each one of us is, or child of true humanity, that, you know, when we activate all of these layers of our being, that we, you know, become true humans. That's, you know, the rectification of the genetic squashing. So I just wanted to show you, what am I talking about with these 4 vortex shapes? Look, you can see that those, find a color that you can actually see on this crazy painting. Here. So like here, you can see it looks like 4 footballs coming together. And all these little guys that I'm circling down here, 4 footballs, 4 footballs, 4 footballs. They're all through this painting, and they're definitely through all of the abstract paintings that I paint and that I have shared with you guys. The whole idea is that those 4 football shapes that you're looking at are the front portion of this sculpture. And when you look at me in the 3rd dimension, look, I'm actually holding on to 4 more back here. So we have 8 football shapes. And the flower of life, my beef with the flower of life and the way that people are presently teaching it is that they are only showing you, we have to hold this up to the camera in just the right angle. Let's get it just right. There we go. So the flower of life does not recognize this football shape that I'm tapping there. We moved that a little bit too much. And the one that I'm holding in the back that I'm tapping. it does emphasize the radial spokes. Let's count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it does not recognize or acknowledge 7 and 8, what I'm holding back here. So the negative space, empty space of this sculpture actually has 8 lobes. And the flower of life is only showing a slice of reality. And it's showing it as if it is the entire reality. It's not the entire reality. So what we're trying to do with our bodies is integrate our physical cellular structure, which is based on 6 and hexagon. And you can remember that hexagon is a 6-sided shape because it got that X sound in it, 6 and hex. The hexagon and the 6-sided shape, it is just like the cellular structure that naturally blooms forth or arises from that initial moment of conception, that when the reverberations are spreading outward, and it's the blueprint for physical manifested body cellular reality. But this is the blueprint and the map for our time bodies. You're not just a dead thing. You're moving through time. When you die, it means you don't move through time anymore. So our whole embodiment here in the picture that I was just showing you is all about how we become a bridge between these hexagonal biological cellular structures and octagonal or 8-sided shapes. And this is what I taught about in Merkaba, the lesson about the Merkaba. Merkaba means light body vessel. We begin with a star tetrahedron that basically has based on 6s and 6 sides. And what we're doing is just rearranging those sides until it is an octahedron or something that has 8 sides. And the special things that happen when we can do that in terms of personal protection, wish fulfillment, and dimensional travel. I'm just putting my feet on a little stool down here for better posture. Okay, so wait. Questions. Okay, good. Oh, thank you. Yes, Joelle is mentioning my shungite cup for anyone who's new. This is a solid piece of shungite. Shungite is a naturally occurring mineral that comes from the Karelia region of Russia. And this one was milled out of one big giant piece. So there's no glue seam at the bottom. So I put my water in here and I drink out of here as much as possible. And the whole point is that shungite is a very effective tool for protecting us against EMF, errant EMF. I got a 5G router like right under this table so I can do these broadcasts and everything. I turn it off at night. I try to do whatever I can to protect myself. I have a slab of shungite on top of the router. I drink out of this. I mix food grade powdered shungite into coconut oil and eat it so that it will go into the lipids of my body, because when it's in water-soluble format, it does not go through the cell membrane easily because cell membranes are hydrophobic. They're afraid of water. No water, no water. My dog is that way. She hates baths. She's hydrophobic. But Cheeky does love coconut oil, and same thing with the cells of our fats of our body. So if you put shungite and coconut oil, then it goes more deeply into the cells and the cell structure of your body. So yeah, this basically helps to protect you against the darn energy attacks, directed energy weapons, smart meters, cell phones, all of that. It's like internal armor. And I'm not sharing too much if I tell you this. I have pieces of shungite, like flat pieces, that I have sewn into my underclothes so that I wear them all the time. Like I have necklaces and bracelets and like wear it on your body, drink from it, eat it, cover yourself in shungite. I brush my teeth with it too, do whatever I possibly can. And I tell other people about it because it's one of these tools that we can use in order to fighting this battle over here. Oh God, Pedro, you understand. He's saying that fly that you see flying around is an agent of those pesky occupiers of the interstices. Completely. And I'm trying very hard not to be annoyed by it either. Douglas she's chilling out in front of the fan. Okay, yeah, it's one person is saying the new age FOL, flower of life. Where did I get my cup? Came from a particular company. I'm not a spokesman for them at all or whatever. I will try to remember to include the link to the company. They were wonderful. They're from Russia. And it took forever to arrive, but it finally did arrive. I don't know if they thought that I was some kind of a Russian conspirator because I was buying something from there or whatever. But yes, and they had very good customer service when I contacted them. So I'll include the link. Okay. What is the flying rainbow lasagna? Not merely a concept. So first of all, the epigenetics. What is epigenetics? Let's write it out for everyone so that you know what I'm talking about. And again, this is recap, even though I know everyone who's been in this class is very familiar with this. Oh my, it's sometimes very hard for me to write with this. So let me just try to do this as best I can. E-P-I. Oh my. Maybe I can do it easier this way. Let's do it this way instead. There we go. Now you can read what I actually wrote. Epigenetics, meaning the code that rules the code. So we all understand that DNA is like a code. It's just like a musical score. It's like when you have a musical score, you have little black dots on a page that represent notes. And when we have DNA, we have an arrangement of amino acids that represents, like what your shoulders are shaped like, what your mouth is shaped like. Yes, DNA does all of that. And DNA also is the integument that makes us jump through time, as I described in level 1. I need to drink more water here. I need to drink a lot more water. Hold on a minute. Thank you for bearing with me. And I also collect my thoughts while I'm doing this too. Flying rainbow lasagna can be used as what I call a genetic placeholder. A new way for us to utilize the movements of our DNA. Okay, but another big takeaway, epigenetics and dance movements of your DNA. Not all twins develop identical diseases. Identical twins do not develop identical diseases. This is how modern day, Earth surface science talks about epigenetics. So this is when humans first started to understand about DNA in the 1940s, they're like, oh, it's written in your code. If you get disease, it's written in your code, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's not true, because then they started to recognize that not all identical twins develop identical diseases. One twin might get cancer, the other one might not, and that's because of how tightly coiled certain aspects of DNA are. So another big takeaway is your DNA is not static. Static, like frozen. It's not frozen. It's constantly moving, and it twists and it turns and it coils and it supercoils and it weaves itself, it crochets itself, it uncrochets itself, it splices itself. It does all these amazing happy hijinks all the time. And one of the things that it does is methylation, which is basically how tightly coiled it is. Sometimes it's like a spring, right? Like imagine my hands are like a slinky. Sometimes it is very untightly coiled. Sometimes it is very tightly coiled. And these are like opening pages of the book. So epigenetics means sometimes people have the pages of their book open like this, and sometimes they have their pages closed like this. And if the pages of the book say, how to grow a horrible tumor, and they're open like this, then you get to grow a horrible tumor. And if the pages are closed, then it doesn't matter what's written in those chapters, you're not experiencing those chapters. So this is the beginning of understanding personal empowerment as opposed to genetic fatalism. Fatal not meaning that you're developing a fatal disease, but the idea that you're fated to experience something if it's written in your DNA. No, you don't have to experience it. Just because grandma had, a problem with toe fungus does not mean that she is going to pass down that problem to you, or diabetes or breast cancer or whatever. But the medical establishment subtly seeds these ideas into each mind. When you go and you take your medical history, does grandma have toe fungus? How about, does grandpa have toe fungus? Like, everybody wants to know what grandma and grandpa and all these other beings did, with the presumption projected upon you that you're going to be just like them. You ain't going to be just like them, because you are living a different life. Thinking different thoughts, having different feelings, eating different foods, having a different approach. All of this, it changes the expression of your genes and the behavior of your genes. Thinking new thoughts changes the behavior of your genes. Even listening to that little diatribe, if you want to look into that information about epigenetics more, I highly recommend Bruce Lipton. He is a evolutionary biologist. He's actually a scientist, a cell research scientist, and he does really good videos explaining to people about how they can be more empowered in terms of diet choices, lifestyle choices, and even your thoughts. Your thoughts. If you think, oh, cancer's inevitable, this is going to happen, grandma died of cancer, then that thought is literally programming some of your DNA to begin to manifest that truth. So what the big thing that I'm trying to say is, by coming here, you have been invited to the Cosmic Dance Party. Thank you for arriving. Thank you for watching this video. You've been ingesting new ideas. We have not yet gotten to the actual practice, the practicable dance movements. However, just listening to my flappy moving mouth parts, just looking at this shape, just learning about its existence has planted seeds. Just like the doctor plants seeds about your toe fungus, I've planted seeds too that say, wait, there's another approach that can happen. There's an additional degree of freedom that can happen. You don't just have to do all the things that they say are inevitable, such as move through time chronologically aging, becoming more decrepit, and eventually dying. No, you don't have to do those things. And so flying rainbow lasagna, the part of it is planting those seeds of what is possible in life. And then the next part is the actual practice of how we do it. But before we get down to that, let's talk about what is DNA doing when it is dancing. So supercoiling is one aspect of it. And I have all of these supplemental homework videos, and there's one that's called supercoiling that's very cool, that basically shows the two strands of DNA twisted together, and then what happens is they get twisted more and more and more, the more and more and more complex shapes and florets and little whirling shapes that it makes, until it is totally knitted together into what I call the genetic sweater. Because if I just go to the whiteboard super fast and draw this out for you, your DNA is only tightly coiled during a very specific part of its lifespan. If this is the outer cell membrane and this is the nuclear membrane, most of the time your DNA is, just make a big scribble here, is like yarn that is completely unfurled. It's called chromatin. It is unfurled DNA that is all squashed together in the nucleus, and it is pulled apart and unfurled like that so that the RNA messengers can go into the sacred library of rare novels, of rare books, and actually read the DNA and then go back out of the library and bring what it has brought, but in terms of like, photocopies, blueprints that are copied, not the originals. So the chromatin must be, the DNA must be unfurled into the shape of chromatin so that the RNA messengers can read the blueprints, that they can even get in there. And it's during that time of being unfurled, that keep using that word like, unraveled, that it's in a state of pure potential. Because a lot of this has to do with what words are next to each other. Meaning is derived from proximity. So if my fingers all are words, and we're like, this word over here is relating to this word over here and giving us symbolic meaning. But what happens if I rearrange all of these words? Then all of a sudden, this word in the middle of the sentence means something really different than it meant at the other part of the sentence. This is what happens when we begin to be able to flying rainbow lasagna our ordinarily toroidal energy field into a higher dimensional state. One of the first things that we're doing is rearranging the events on the membrane of time. So as I go back to this drawing that I did before, I remember I had this picture up over here, and remember that I drew this sketch that I draw all the time at the bottom, where you've got the, oh God, it's sometimes so hard to control this. Here. This across the bottom, and then this swooping membrane over here. Just bear with me, guys. I know my sketching is really out of control on this little pad sometimes. And this swooping membrane over here, all right? Let's get a different color. Let's use red. Oh, wait. Okay, well, each one of these red dots that I'm drawing here on the membrane of death, I hope you can see that okay. Big, giant red dots. Those represent the last moment of your life. I'll call them the final denouements. So here we're drawing, I hope you could see those big red dots. And those big red dots as your last moment, that's like your hard drive. You have recorded all of the implied trajectory where I'm writing this line. That red line is the implied trajectory that brought you to the membrane of death. So you don't actually have to have all of this from birth to death stored up. All you have to have is that last moment. And in that last moment, you can say, hey, it's kind of like an equation, like 1 plus 2 plus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, equals that big giant red dot that is the last moment of your life. It is like that last moment of your life is the end result of an equation of many different variables. It's almost too complex to even think about. And so what we've got in terms of those membranes, that membrane of death, these boundary structures, is a series of numbers. And this is seeing on an abstract level, not an anthropomorphic level. So on the one hand, you're seeing different versions of you that are all splatted on the membrane of death, just like bugs splatted on the windshield, and they're frozen. They're frozen. That's their last moment. They're not moving through time anymore. And they're all versions of you. And if you love yourself, then it's horrible to see yourself smashed up on the highway or whatever, however you died, bludgeoned to death, whatever happened. It's not very fun and pleasant to see that that is going on there. what we can do when we begin to flying rainbow lasagna is rearrange those events on the membrane of death, just like we are rearranging the words of a book. So if you rearrange the words of a book, it says, he opened the door and got stabbed to death. And we can rearrange those words in order to have the sentence say a completely different meaning. Like, he opened the door and, let's then take a snippet from somewhere else, you know, lived a long and happy life, ate some oatmeal for breakfast, whatever. We can redefine what the events of our life are. It doesn't have to be got in his car, drove down the highway and smashed into the guardrail and died on that day. How do we do this? So I'm going to draw simplifications of this on the whiteboard now and then put it inside of a context. And this is planting more seeds, more epigenetic seeds into your mind of how to flying rainbow lasagna. Clear this all out. If I start off with, I don't know if you can see yellow, so I'll just draw it in red. Oh, it's in black. Start with black. Just bear with me. It's sometimes very hard to make circles and stuff on here. This is that primary shape that I was showing you on my yellow sculpture and also the really chewed up white sculpture. Basically 4 vortexes, all right? And they all converge at this central convergence point right over here. That was just a little mistake. Sorry, painful and tedious to watch me draw it so badly. Okay, good enough, fair enough, everyone. That is what science describes as like the Big Bang. We say, okay, science describes, here's the singularity, the 0th dimension, the collection of all possibilities and probabilities overlapping in one tiny little space. And science then describes the outer emanation, sudden explosion outward. And I'm not a scientist and I don't believe in all of this stuff, but I'm just describing it as the Big Bang, the erroneous perception of how science cosmology views the beginning of time and the creation of the world. So science looks at this as the primary origin of time, and then there was a sudden explosion or expansion outward in the direction of this arrow, and that this surface here that I'm scribbling upon, that is the moment now, present moment now. Everything that's in here, where I'm scribbling here, that's all the past. And the whole point of why I'm bringing this up is because science does not formally recognize where I'm scribbling right now, which is the future. The future is actually an area of uncollapsed waveforms of possibilities and probabilities and things that can happen. And our perception and imagination has a great deal to do with whether they are manifested into reality and whether we experience them. I bring this up because this basic 4 vortex shape with the 2 implied vortices is very similar to this. There's a central convergence point, and then we have dimpled that fabric of the moment, present moment now. However, we still have a separation between the inside and the outside. And what's special about flying rainbow lasagna is that it makes the inside and the outside communicative. So this membrane, I'm highlighting it in blue now, the moment now, separates the past, where I just scribbled, from the potential of the future, which science does not recognize actually exists. And in this sculpture over here, we've got how can I put this, realm in here, the realm of life, where I'm scribbling in blue, and then this area over here where I'm also scribbling in blue. They're 2 different areas that do not meet, and they do not interact, and they do not share anything. They do not share ideas or energy or anything like that. And how do we get them to meet and interact and share ideas and energy? Just like a Mobius strip. And we'll go, well, it's Mobius, here's a Mobius strip. Mobius strip is one piece of material, like a piece of wood, that has a twist in it and the ends joined together. And what's magical is that it essentially has one surface. There's not the top versus the bottom or duality, thing versus thing, black versus white, night versus day, top versus bottom. There's integration, there's unity. How do we get that? And this is what the flying rainbow lasagna is. It is also a shape of non-duality and unity. And the answer is planting seeds in your mind here. You put that basic chakra or stretched bubble of time into a context. It's not just floating in a contextless space, as that Big Bang little diagram that I had over there was. All of a sudden, we put this in a context. We have the past and we have the future. Now where I'm highlighting in blue, that's the future. That's the room that the torus shape sits within. This is crucial because when you have this torus in a context or in a room, what you can do is either make the shape jump up and down. And when it jumps up and down, what we have is superpositioning, where we also have one version of it is the black colored version of it over there, and one version of it is the red colored version up here. And what we can do is we can take a snippet of the events on the red membrane and combine it with the snippet of the events on the black membrane. Let's find a black, well, because my drawing is so bad, but it's kind of like that. We're doing a mashup so that it's like, oh, here's some black timeline, and then we're going to have a few bars of red timeline over here, and the events of what happened on the red timeline. Then we're going to go back to the black timeline. This is what we're talking about. Someone once used the analogy, and I love this analogy, of musical mashup. Just like if Beastie Boys make music like this. A few bars of modern music, and then they'll take a snippet from someone else. It could be Jimi Hendrix, who lived, decades ago. It could be anyone. Put in a little snippet of that music, and then back to their music. This is what happens when we take this shape and put it into a higher dimensional context. This is when people were always asking me, how do I do this dance? What do I do? What do I do? This is the understanding, first of all, what we are doing, the music theory behind it. We're taking this basic time body, and it's actually oriented like this. We put it in a higher dimensional context, and then we make it jump up and down. And when it jumps up and down, that place where my fingers are pinching together, that's this violet point down here and this violet point up here. That this jumping up and down, the singularity, which by nature, definition of what it is, must be single. We cannot have two of it. That would make it a duality. This is not two singularities. This is one singularity that is jumping up and down so fast that it is as if it's in two places at the same time. This is very similar to if we took a long exposure image of me, like, moving my arm, like hitting a baseball or something like that, hitting a tennis racket, moving my arm across, and you would see over the long exposure, wow, it looks like Aurora has a million arms, but you recognize I have one arm that is moving across the screen from here to here in different positions that have all been captured in that one snapshot. That's what's going on in this sculpture. This sculpture is the end result, put some light on it, end result of an oscillation, jumping up and down, back and forth of that singularity, so that all of a sudden, I like to say, I bend the rules, I don't break the rules, I'm bending or redefining the rules of the cosmos. This is why flying rainbow lasagna is allowed. What it means is that that singularity is in different positions and can also have different qualities in those different positions. Just like your right eye and your left eye have slightly different viewpoints of reality, these two positions of the singularity have different viewpoints, one of which is energy, having whatever, I'm trying to find a definition of it, intelligence, and one is entropy, which is the opposite of energy, which is losing energy, loss of energy. It's being cold and dead and frozen and not moving or thinking or being. It's non-being. We have being and non-being. We have energy and entropy. And this shape is the resolution of duality in exactly the same way that a Mobius strip is the representation of unity, where we have one unified surface, not two different separate surfaces. So when you look at flying rainbow lasagna, where I'm tracing with my pen, here we're on the outside surface. We define outside as any surface that faces the room that we are in. And now without lifting up my pen, all of a sudden, oh, look, I'm on the inside surface. Oh, I'm on the outside, now I'm on the inside, I'm on the outside. Very, very different than this world over here where, oh, look, I'm on the inside, my pinky's touching the inside, but I can't get to the outside. That means a little ant from the past, like if this is the membrane of that bubble of time, I'm a little ant walking on the surface of time. I can't talk with or interact with or communicate with or get energy from an ant that's walking on this surface of time. I can only stay here and talk with other ants that are on this surface of time. But what if we're able to vibrate this membrane back and forth really, really, really fast? All of a sudden, this little ant can talk with this little ant. The past can communicate with the future. The established events of the past can communicate with the non-established fluid potentials of the future. And this is what flying rainbow lasagna is all about. This is what it means to gain an additional degree of freedom. You don't just have to wake up in the morning and then have breakfast and then have lunch and then have dinner. First of all, you can rearrange your experience of time into a nonlinear experience. And also, like I said, you don't have to leave your bedroom. You don't have to leave your pajamas. It's not like you get into a car and you drive to the ancient past, you drive to the distant future All of this is internal within your DNA. So that this is why it's like total personal empowerment. Your body is your quantum laboratory. Your body is the only thing that you really own. Like, I don't own this dress. I don't own this necklace. It's not me. It's not me. My hair is me. My eyeballs are me. This is me. This is what I get to play and experiment with. This is my laboratory for what happens when I put together a certain combination of ideas, events, and variables into this particular format. Let's find out. It's like, what happens if I play this particular music or if I write this particular song? So what happens when we do this is you get to rearrange your DNA into new and interesting formats. So one way that we can rearrange DNA is by supercoiling. Go to the whiteboard. So there are different things. Okay, so supercoiling, let's say your DNA is coiled up like this, and they're big fat ropes, not little skinny ropes, but each one of these loops is a torus shape. And any place where you've got a torus, you can create a flying rainbow lasagna out of it. So, okay, wait, first in the drawing on the left over there, just in light blue, I'm going to draw very quickly, is here's the flying rainbow lasagna with the peaks up there. Use a different color. I'm sorry, you can't really see what's going on here. Purple. The peaks are going up this way, and then the peaks going down this way. And then here's the curly edge of the lasagna noodle. If we translate that to this spring over here, this slinky of DNA over here, what we would do is we would have the curly edge of the lasagna noodle going like this, and we'd have peaks going back and forth like this. And you don't have to have just one. You can have a whole bunch of them. You can have a whole bunch of lasagnas stacked up next to each other in your DNA, vibrating away. We can vibrate them in terms of supercoiling. And what that means is you're rearranging the puzzle pieces of your DNA. Events, new events become possible. So not someone once asked me, like, can I make my eyes purple with this? You can make your eyes purple with colored contact lenses. Like, expand your imagination. What if you want to do something that could never be possible just by buying pieces of plastic and putting them on your eyeballs? This makes those types of things possible. In terms of genetic reformatting, that's exactly right. Let's now talk about when DNA is being replicated. So now this is one skinny little piece of DNA with these little, teeth that are little amino acids on either side that fit together like teeth of a zipper. And as a normal part of the cell lifespan, it unzips, it splits apart. And this is also for RNA messengers in order to reach inside and be able to read it. So when genes are supercoiled, RNA messengers ride along the outside, around the curves over here where I'm kind of making that curvy side, just like riding a roller coaster, like little cars on a roller coaster. They ride around the outside. And they also sometimes unzip, like what I'm scribbling over here, and it becomes like this Y shape or V shape, where you've got, let's choose a different color here. Where I'm scribbling in red, guess what you've got over here? You've got negative space, empty space. Empty space. That empty space is another dimension. And so in the natural life cycle of DNA, when it's unzipped like this is unstable, where you've got this red empty space. It's kind of like, wishy-washy, the DNA can do anything. What if we put a flying rainbow lasagna in there? And so now I'm making like a top-down lasagna, where here's the little hole and here's the curly edge going around the edge. So you're looking at it like this. Can you see that on your little tiny thumbnail from the top down? What if we put a flying rainbow lasagna in there? This acts like a genetic placeholder. And what that means is instead of that empty space being an area of instability, we have an area of stability. This flying rainbow lasagna stabilizes that in a higher dimension. And it does it through a vibration, like if I change colors, it does it through the oscillating back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth of that little singularity in that area. And what that means is that you don't die. Like if you had all of your genes unzipped, you would die of like destabilization. If you stabilize those genes when they're unzipped, what you do is you exist in a state of pure potential. This is like someone else said in one of the other webinars. She said, Schrodinger's humans. I'm like, yes, exactly. Schrodinger's peoples. Let me drink water. Wait. Drinking water. The idea of Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, where you got the cat in the box. The cat might be dead. It might be alive. We don't know what it is until we actually open it up and collapse those waveforms in observership. And then we make reality happen because we're observing it. When we fly in rainbow lasagna and we hover like a hummingbird, I have beautiful hummingbirds in my backyard. I look at them all the time and I'm like, you can't ask it to slow down. Like it's got to be moving at that speed in order to stay aloft. Same thing with the lasagna. It's like this little hummingbird. It's jumping back and forth, jumping back and forth. And it is maintaining stability in those areas of pure genetic potential without destabilizing the entire thing so that you die because you're so wishy-washy, so undetermined. You live in a state of quantum indeterminacy, and that can be a very good thing because there's a lot of freedom that comes from that. So this is like music theory. It's like if I say, oh, I'm pressing this key on my piano. What is happening when I press that? Well, a hammer is hitting a string, and the string is sending out vibrations, and the vibrations are hitting the atmosphere. Then you're like, Aurora, at a certain point, let's just play the music. We did the music theory. Awesome. So when we play the music, this is called How to Actually Dance Like a Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So I'm wearing a dress, so I won't do everything with the legs, for modesty. But what I want you to see is that there are 8 basic shapes, flanges, ski jump shapes to this shape, flying rainbow lasagna. And we'll count around. And a lot of music goes on the 8 count beat. So let's count around. Ready? Can you see it okay in the sun? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. It's a jumping back and forth. We're taking that singularity and we're vibrating it at least 8 times. And okay, how do I do this? Who do I do this with? It's a partnerless dance. It's not like the waltz. You can do this dance even if there were no one else alive, no one else around, nothing. I mean, no other humans. It's not like the waltz where you'd be like, I'm a woman and I have to find a man, because there's all of this twin flame crapola. Throw it out the window. Any of these ideas where it's totally disempowering, like, oh, until I meet my twin flame, I can't blah, blah, blah. No, clearly, because something, I've been here for 17 years as Aurora, and I've been dancing like the flying rainbow lasagna. It's not anything that you have to wait. You don't need anybody's permission, and you don't need a dance partner. Do it now, do it on your own. And then we also can do it, like a flock of lasagnas flying through the sky. It is a genetic dance. So many times in these broadcasts, you've seen me move my hands like this. This is part of my dance, and it symbolizes the things that are happening on that subcellular level when the DNA is vibrating. So science is so clunky that it doesn't even have proper tools for being able to observe what is happening when genes are actually alive. It destroys the genes, cuts them up into bits, and then puts them into like a, spectrograph so that you can see what are the constituent elements of it. That's not how you learn music. You learn music by actually listening to music and actually being submerged in it. So because I play the piano, my right hand tends to be a lot faster and take the melody, and my left hand tends to be a little bit slower and just do the basic rhythm. So that's what you'll see me doing. And let's go to a video. That's what I keep joking. Let's go to the videotape. Go to the video that I have wonderfully prepared for you. So these were videos that David Lear helped facilitate with the professional animator. Let me just clear all these things away now that we're getting to the videos. So I did like hieroglyphics and sketches and asked the professional animator to make them look exactly the way I wanted them to. And then the animator would send me possibilities and say, does it look like this? Does it look like this? And I would communicate back what it needed in order to be correct. So let's play this one, and you will begin to understand how the flying rainbow lasagna is the end result of an accumulation or overlapping of many different dance movements. We'll start at the beginning, please. Start at the beginning. Good. Here's the first one. This is the stretchy fabric of the cosmos. Oh, we just jumped in the opposite direction. We jumped down. First we jumped up, we jumped down, we're jumping up again, stretching the fabric to the up, stretching the fabric to the down, stretching the fabric up, stretching the fabric down. 2 more, guys. 1 more up and 1 more down. This is how this shape comes into being, by this oscillating maneuver, stretching the fabric of time, space, and consciousness into a new format. Now let me show you the different orientations that flying rainbow lasagna can do, because it's just like saying, okay, if I've got 4 notes on the scale of what I'm playing, but I can play them in different combinations so that we can have new songs. Like, I mean, basically out of our DNA, we have 4 basic amino acids, and we have, look at the genetic diversity of organisms and humans and everything that is out there. So in terms of using the 4 basic notes or the basic dance movements, this is the levels of jazz diversity that we can get. So one of the first, and I'll go through this with my face on camera, but first we're oriented like this, a jumping up and down motion. Then we're doing a jumping side to side motion. Then we're doing a jumping in and out motion. Then we're doing a end over end tumbling motion. So now that I narrated that, or told you what to expect, here's what we're looking at. Hey, look, it also rotates. As it's jumping back up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, it's also rotating around like this. So first we've got it rotating around like this, all right? This is like one of the notes. Oh, look at this. Now we can do oriented like this on this axis. Wow, now we're jumping back and forth like this, jumping back and forth like this. Now we're going to add a new variable, which is what happens if we jump in and out like this. Look, jumping in and out, jumping in and out. Oh my goodness, and rotating at the same time. And then the final thing, the pièce de résistance, is end over end, tumbling end over end. And we do this at a diagonal, kind of like, here's end over end in this direction. You got it, everyone. End over end in this direction. And then here's end over end in this direction. Okay, great, because animation's worth a million billion of my flappy moving mouth parts. So we'll let it run a little bit more and you get an idea of what this looks like. Doing great, everyone. I know that this is getting through. That's why I say doing great. It's like I can feel you going, aha, inside. You're like, oh, I get it, I get it, I get it. Okay, so when I do my dancing, I'll go back to my face here. When I do my dancing with my hands, you'll see me making some movements like this. That's the up and down movements. You'll see me making some side to side movements. Sometimes they're side to side like this. Sometimes they're side to side like this, right? You'll see me doing some back and forth movements like this. And then you'll also see me doing some diagonal movements like this too. So when I'm doing this movement like this, I'm doing a combination of all these different things super fast and jazzy, all right? I got the up, down, side, side, back, forth, and corner diagonals. And guess what, guys? Everybody is encouraged to make their own music. I'm not saying copy me or be exactly like me. In fact, for many years, I was very reticent to even show what I was doing to other people because it's like you invented the piano. Oh, the Cheeky's being loud. Cheeky's being loud. Come over here. She hears someone outside. Come over here. If you invented the piano, you don't have to be like, oh, and by the way, I invented the piano and also you're only allowed to play the patterns that I invented and came up with. No, please, no. The whole point is the piano has been invented. Take it and run with it. Make your own unique patterns because everybody's got their own unique thumbprint. My thumbprint opens up my computers and my genetic code. No one else's thumbprint will do that. And I'm not going to tell anybody else, come on up, girl. Here we go. Cheeky's got her own unique genetic dance. Aw, it's a wiggle butt. There we go. Get happy, get happy. Thank you, boss. Just being very patient today. Everybody's got their own unique genetic code. So it's not appropriate for me to tell anybody else how to dance or what to dance. And the dance means what you're doing with your body, what you're doing with your mind, what you're doing with your timelines, what events you're manifesting. I mean, my dream is being an artist, being a musician, you know, sharing these ideas. Oh, I need to talk, honey. I love you though, I need to talk. Other people have a different dream. It might be baking blueberry muffins. Somebody might have a dream of being a yoga instructor. Somebody might have a dream of being a scuba diver. I have no desire to be a scuba diver at all. That does not appeal to me at all. Seriously. But some people, that might be their dream. So when each person begins doing their flying rainbow lasagna dance, that means that you begin to align with the timelines that maybe might have been defined as impossible. I joke that I'm an impossible person because I do things that theoretically should not be able to be done. I do 12 million impossible things even before breakfast because there's neurological difficulties, the artifacts that came from the damage that killed the previous occupant of this body. Theoretically, I shouldn't be able to be here. I shouldn't be able to be alive. I shouldn't be walking and talking. I should be a vegetable in bed. I do all of these impossible things by flying rainbow lasagnaing with my genes. And I bring that up not in order to say like, I'm so great. I mean, I am so great. We are all so great. My real motivation beyond self-aggrandizement is inspiration of other people. That if there are whatever diseases or limitations, biological limitations or discomforts that you might have in your body from accident or illness or something like that, we can supersede them. We can transcend them. This is what flying rainbow lasagna is. When I first came into this body, I had no math skills. I was numerically illiterate. And that's because the math centers of my brain had been destroyed and disrupted. And clearly I do lots of math now and I enjoy numbers and I think math is fun and cool. And it's kind of like if you couldn't used to run because you had like, you know, no legs or something and all of a sudden you grew legs and you're like, I want to run all the time. Running is the best. That's what I'm like with math. I'm like, wow, I love learning about math. I love doing math. I think it's super cool. And that's because I don't do a lot of my processing power in the normal way, like walking like a little ant from point A to point B. I bend and fold the fabric of time, space, and consciousness in order to get my neurons to go from point A to point B. Thanks, guys. Thanks for understanding. The boss needs some love. The boss needs some love and reassurance. All right, all right. So how do I do the flying rainbow lasagna dance? So I just showed you the dance steps, but I don't think that that's enough. And we're doing semester wrap up and we're almost at the end of this recording. How do I actually do it? Cheeky does the flying rainbow lasagna, and I will tell you also, she is a master or mistress of manifestation. We went for this we went for an extensive long walk the other day up one of these lovely hiking trails. And, you know, I always bring snacks for both of us. And we had eaten all of our snacks and we were returning hungry and sweaty. And she manifested for herself a big chunk of beef jerky that one of the other hikers had dropped on the path. And like, she could do it. She's manifested mini hot dogs, fried wontons. Like, we always walk past this other place, this Chinese food restaurant. And I know that she's like, I want those wontons. I'm like, I don't eat Chinese food, so she's not going to get it from me. So one day we walked past there and she managed to find one on the ground and, like, you know, it was right in her path. This is about creating the realities we wish to experience. I'll tilt it down so you can see her a little bit better. The realities, now you can't see me, the realities we wish to experience. Cheeky wanted to experience a reality where she finally gets to eat the food that she's always smelling walking past that restaurant, or she was really hot and thirsty and needed something good, hot and hungry and thirsty and really needed something good after that walk. She didn't want to have to wait until we got home, you know, an hour later. She manifested a chunk of beef jerky. There you go, jump on down, honey, so that she could have what she wanted. So all of this is about you manifesting your heart's desires. And those heart's desires, it doesn't have to be like for a golden toilet seat. I want to be a millionaire and poop on a golden toilet seat. I think most of us, our heart's desires are much saner than that. Drinking water. Because part of my heart's desire is not merely for personal abundance, it is for mutual social abundance. Like, I want my life to be happy and healthy, and I have everything that I need, and everyone around me in society to also be happy and healthy and abundant and have everything they need. Because if your heart's desire is to make blueberry muffins, you got to have other people around who want to buy and eat your muffins. And if you're the only person with the money and everyone else is so struggling that they can't even afford muffins, then you're not going to have your heart's desire come true. So yeah, I want to make artwork and sell my artwork and make music and give performances. And I want everyone else on this planet to be super happy, healthy, and abundant, and be able to have the mental energy to perceive what I'm doing, to the physical resources to buy a ticket, or, you know, buy a piece of work, or to participate in some way. So that is the realm that we're moving into. And I think that it's not necessary at this point. Like, we're not going to get rid of money just instantaneously. Money is going to be fair. Money has not been fair for a very long time due to dark magic, satanic technology. And I'm going to get to all these questions. Don't worry. I'm not going to leave you hanging. But let me just get to the exact, how do we dance? How do I do my dance? How does Cheeky do the dance too? So I showed you my little chair that wonderful student made for me. Cheeky often sits on my lap, but sometimes my dance gets very vigorous. Sometimes she's like, this is like a roller coaster. It's too much dancing for me. So sometimes she'll jump off and go in her little dog bed. So one of the first things is good food for my body. I never dance on an empty stomach, just like going out for a hike. I eat a good solid breakfast in the morning. All right. So, you know, whatever is food for you. I don't give people dietary advice. I recognize that my diet is unique to me and my body is rather anomalous in terms of how it functions on this. So you can tell I'm doing well. I eat the food that works for me, eat the food that works for you. I won't tell anybody what to do with their particular instrument or anything like that. The point is, you need to have two forms of fuel. Fuel for your physical body and also fuel for your consciousness. So the fuel for my physical body is, you know, like fruits and vegetables and meats and good stuff and eggs. And the fuel for my non-physical body, I'm pointing at it right now. It's light. It's light from the sun. It's the stellar network. That's where I really come from. It's where my consciousness originates from. And when I first came here as Aurora into this body, I thought that that's all I needed to eat. I didn't understand that it was also necessary to eat eggs or fried chicken or tortillas or something like that. You got to eat something for the physical body too. So it's been its whole own exploration. So first I eat real breakfast. And I go with Cheeky's right there in her little dog bed. I go out and get some physical exercise with her too, and kind of like get the metabolism going, get a good walk before it gets too hot outside. Then I come back home and I sit down in my super cool lasagna chair. But I say to everyone, sit in a body position that is comfortable to you. Like I sit with my legs, crossed, like Indian style, whatever. That's comfortable to me. And it also makes my lap feel like it's like a bowl, like a cauldron that can hold energy. But if you have back issues, hip issues, whatever, can't do it, that's fine. Sit in a way that's comfortable to you. And the other thing is sun gazing. So we're going to do, I fill up with sun to do sun gazing. I don't stare directly at the physical sun. And I caution everybody, you don't have to stare directly at the sun with your physical eyes in order to get nourishment from the sun. You connect to the sun with your, where's my little thing, where'd my little attention go? With your attention, with the tendril of attention, with your elephant's trunk of attention. You connect to the sun, and like an elephant drinking up water, drink down that wonderful light. So what I do is sit with my legs crossed. My back is erect. This is, again, it's not like sunbathing. I love to sunbathe. Like, you put on your bikini and you lay out in the sun and you relax and it feels so wonderful and relaxed. This is not like that. This is not like going limp. You're not limp. You are, with your spine erect, you're activated. Or I do it sometimes in bed because the sun is rising just and coming in my window. But the point is, if I'm laying in my bed, my spine is nice and flat. So that's a big thing for me is, not feeling hunched over or constrained or whatever. My spine is nice and erect. I connect my attention to the sun. My elephant's trunk is now ready to get energy coming into me. And I breathe it in, literally with my nose. I breathe it in and I breathe it up into my sinus cavities up here and into my sinus cavities here. And then I swallow it down my throat until it goes into my lower belly, right down here. That's below my navel. In the Far East, this is your hara, your ara. It's your fire of your belly. It's like the vitality center of your body. Hold on a sec. And so I breathe in one time. I'm got full of energy, but that's not enough because that's just down here. I got to breathe in again, and I fill up more energy here. And I breathe in again, and I fill up more energy here. And I breathe in again, I fill up more energy. I feel it filling up all the way up to here. And when it gets to about here, I breathe in again. And what I do is I make that energy come up, out my third eye, back around into the back of my head. Can you see where I'm pointing at? Right back here. And then shoot back out my third eye. And I call this, it's like an ankh. It is like making a loop, like a loop-de-loop, a loop-de-loop. And this is like having a rapport or a consensual relationship with the sun. And I do that as many times as I need to in order to feel happy and energized. You can do it once, you can do it fast. I've done it in airports. Like you can do it super sly. It doesn't have to be anything that anybody really, sees you doing. And when I do that, looping, that loop-de-loop, a lot of the times I will, with my physical eyes, sometimes my eyeballs closed or sometimes my eyes open, look upward, just like if you're doing a backflip. I don't know if any of you have ever tried this or whatever, but if you're trying to do some kind of a physical gymnastics maneuver, you need to look with your eyes where you're going. So sometimes I will internally focus with my eyes as if I'm doing a loop-de-loop or an actual gymnastics flip back up, back and around, and then have this energy come back out through the front of my head. Okay, that's sun gazing. So we ate food for the body. We ingested light for the light body. And then the next thing is my next secret weapon. I'm looking, what can I point to? Where's my headphones? I got my headphones all coiled up over here. Headphones, music. I usually use headphones because I like the feeling of being like surrounded by music, and with the, like really good headphones that kind of go into your ear canals, you really feel like you're in the music. Music is like a food to me. Absolutely. Get a little bit more light on me over here. It's like a food that I use to fuel my journey. And, my neighbors don't necessarily love my music. So that's another reason why I do my headphones, because I'm outside or whatever. But if you are in a place where you don't have to worry about disturbing anybody else and you want to rock out, put on some giant speakers, do whatever you want to do, play Metallica. But also you choose the music that you like the best and the things that inspire you. Like, people, we've spoken about this before. I love Jimi Hendrix. And I love I love John Coltrane, David Bowie, and all these different people. And so each day requires different music because it's not always the same feeling. Sometimes it's like the feeling of dancing sometimes is like moving through sand. It's like, oh, like I'm running the marathon uphill. This is really hard today. Sometimes you need music that's like punching through membranes. You know, you need music that's like Rage Against the Machine, something that's like totally energizing like that. Some days it's like placid, peaceful, beautiful, sparkling ocean, you know, with no waves. And then it's like, whoa, you don't need all of that, like, you know, super aggressive music, beautiful, soft, flowing music. So again, that's why I'm not going to dictate to anyone which songs you should or shall use or in what context. Use the music that inspires you. Also, the action of doing this, you still got that stupid fly flying around, is a little bit saucy. It's a little bit attitude. It's a little bit rock and roll because we've got these occupiers of the interstices, these overlords of humanity, these oppressors trying to keep you down, trying to keep you under their thumb, and whatever inborn programmed programs that we're breaking by doing this. Like, screw you. You're not going to make me a slave. I'm going to flying rainbow lasagna. I'm going to stay healthy. I'm not going to age. I'm going to get through the wormhole and be the true version of who I was always meant to be. And they're like, no, we don't want you to do this. So this is a little bit like, screw you. I'm going to do it anyway. I want everyone to have that attitude, have your spine erect, be like, no one's going to stop me from doing this. Because I really noticed as I've been doing this over the years, there are always these assailants that come in that try to make you, you know, screw up. So one of the things that we got to do is be safe. Always do your Merkaba. That is one of the first things that I do when you see me sit down and begin to dance. You'll see me make, at this point, it's just a little gesture like this. But what I'm really doing is making one of my points of my star tetrahedron go around in this direction and the other one go around in this direction. Everybody's got to figure out their own direction of spin. Might be different depending upon what gender you are. Again, I'm not going to dictate to anyone. It's based in practice. Do it in the way that feels most happy and comfortable to you, which is kind of like if you're, you know, if you're right-handed and you play the guitar like this, but if you're left-handed, you play the guitar like this. Or snowboarding too, like which foot goes first on the snowboard, which feels right. Do what feels right to you. So the first thing is create your Merkaba of protection. The Merkaba is the counter-rotating star tetrahedron field that is an immune system of energy that repels energy that is not loving, but still allows and draws in energy that is loving. Loving meaning in tune with the cosmos, making the love tone. That's what you want to eat. You want the love to come in, but you don't want any of the bullshit to come in. It is an immune system. And I also do interdimensional movements of my Merkaba that allow me to, you know, doing this jumping off the surface of time type of stuff. So that's the first thing. Put on awesome music, do the Merkaba, and then the attitude is like, I'm allowed to do this. I'm experimenting with my own body and I'm, you know, transcending whatever difficulties. What I do is I go beyond my ego. Whatever difficulties I've had during, you know something? Doing the flying rainbow lasagna is the easiest part of my day. You know what are the hard things? Like, I gotta do banking stuff. I gotta buy toilet paper. You know, I gotta get my oil changed on my car. I gotta do all these mundane stuff. That stuff is hard. Doing the flying rainbow lasagna is easy. This is going into pure abstraction. I'm not thinking about my oil change when I'm doing my flying rainbow lasagna. I'm totally connecting to microbes in my tummy, the mineral realm, the mountains that live around me, the plants that are growing around me, the insects that are flying by, the hummingbirds that are flying by, and any other humans that want to connect with me. Because this all is consensual. Can't force you to be in the band. So I connect with all the beautiful people that are in this class that are interested in these ideas. I connect with people that maybe have never heard of this class, but they might be meditators or yoga enthusiasts or people that are on their own inner journey that are part of the telepathic network. And I connect with my dog, Cheeky. She does the flying rainbow lasagna. And I connect with, like I told you, birds, earthworms, insects. You can flying rainbow lasagna along with the other members of the band. But remember, it's a partnerless dance. It's not like you have to do it with them. And I flying rainbow lasagna with the sun, where I'm taking the singularity that is within me and making it jump to the sun and back to me and to the sun 8 times, back and forth, back and forth. So we've got this bridge that connects me to the sun and to all of the stars. So I'm dancing with the sun. I'm dancing with all the stars. All the stars are like neurons of a great brain. And I'm dancing with other people that are like connecting with neurons of a great brain. You can dance with and connect with members of the band that are dolphins. You can dance with dolphins, you can dance with elephants and blue whales. microbes. You can dance with the mitochondria within your cells, so subcellular organelles. This is the advanced presentation. You can get as fast and jazzy as you want to. So what I usually do is I'll start the rest of the band going up and down like this, like, okay, microbes, you keep the beat like this, or then we'll do like insects, you guys do back and forth like this, or palm trees, you do back and forth like this. Then we'll do birds do in and out like this. And then maybe we'll do, you know, whatever, I'm thinking is blue whales at the diagonal, It's just like being in a band. Everybody has their specialty. You know, the bassist is keeping their bass line, the pianist is playing their piano, drummers keeping the beat. Everybody plays their instrument. That is the whole point. Your body is your instrument. And it is when we mesh together perfectly harmoniously that we make this music that is known as the symphony of life. And we can also transform our experience definition of what life is. Life does not have to be defined as ending in death. We can redefine what life is as an endless, eternal journey that does not end on the membrane of death. So, and when I will caution you, like I get attacked, be prepared to be attacked when you start to do this, because the blade of grass that grows up, they try to chop it down. These are the occupiers of the interstices. They actually have, like, you know, their own telescopes. And they're like, oh, look, that person's starting to get a little saucy. Let's get him. So you gotta have your Merkaba, be prepared. And I've also developed some of these, you know, defensive techniques that I actually kind of work in as part of the dance movements, because my whole gig is I'm dancing for joy. I'm not like, you know, a ninja and I'm dancing in a way like to kill or hurt or harm or fight against other people. I'm dancing for joy. And they're freaking attacking me. So I have to be like, oh, defense, squash, get away. So when you watch me dance one day when we do this or whatever, you'll sometimes see me do some sweeping movements where I'm kind of like sweeping something and flicking it away like that. Or sometimes, you know, blocking kind of like in martial arts like that, flicking it away like that. And also what I do is, and I found this to be the most effective, sometimes you'll see me do organizing like this and then bringing it together like this. And when I do this, you'll even see that the shapes that my fingers make are very similar to the shapes that cells make during the moment of mitosis or cell division, where the chromosomes that are kind of V-shaped, they were X-shaped, but they have split into Vs, align themselves perfectly and then split apart like this. So dancing, let's say something attacked me and my mind went off in the wrong direction. I started thinking about getting the oil changed on my car. I'm like, redirect, get back into the game. And then what I'll do is bring my hands together like this. And as I'm doing that, I'm envisioning tying up loose ends, erasing anything that is not intentional. We are creating moments of time when we do this dance, in your personal life and in the larger social and economic construct known as human society and Earth society. Make things happen is what I'm trying to say. You got to take responsibility for it. Just like on my paintings. Oh, you can see it way back there. I'm doing a sketch. It's on a piece of paper. If I screw up, you know what I do? I get my eraser and I erase the parts that I screwed up. So when I'm doing this, I'm like, okay, did I screw anything up? Are there any things that need to be erased? If there are, I erase them with this movement. Bring it together. And that is also like a measure break in writing music. You've got play, measure break. And that's like a little packet. So what you can do is chop your dance up into packets and be like, okay, I did this event now, and this event is now locked in. No one else is gonna mess with it. I've erased all the things that need to be erased. And now that measure break, or like a paragraph break. Now on to the next phrase, and then paragraph break. So all of this is pure creativity. It is done with total intuitive guidance. It is not done through the rational, logical mind. It is done through perception also. I should make this very, very clear. When I dance with my eyes open. Sometimes, often I close my eyes and I see this realm that I'm pointing to, like what I paint, internally. I see that realm. And they have these virtual reality video games now where you're wearing goggles and you might have lightsabers or something like that, and you have to be like poking or, you know, chopping or doing something like that in response to what the virtual reality is sending to you. This is very much like what it is like to dance the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance. I don't know if you can see, but the more that you do it, you'll see internally. You'll start to see the fabric of space, time, and consciousness, and all of the different impulses that are traveling there. And some of them, like a thought might come against you and try to be like, destabilize you. So you might have to be like, block it out. send it on its way or transmute it in some way. And each person can come up with their particular style, what works best for them. Like, I'm not going to dictate to anyone, but just be prepared that as you begin to grow, this is becoming a cosmic adult from a cosmic infant. Like, we didn't know how to walk. We didn't know how to open our eyes. We didn't know how to see. We didn't know how to navigate reality. We're now becoming empowered. We're growing up. And that means we can make the things happen we want to make happen. We can make the life experiences happen that we wish to make happen. And it also means that, you know, those beings try to stop you, but those beings have been trying to stop us all since birth. And now at this point, we're finally getting our muscles. It's easy to attack an infant. It's easy to harm an infant. It's very, very hard to harm a fully adult, you know, a person who is empowered and who is adult and who has grown their faculties. This is what this means. Like, don't be intimidated if they try to attack you. So dance, dance, dance. Wait, hold on. Let me also say I'm not doing it in this dress, but I work my feet too. This is like pushing and pulling the levers of the cosmos. And I'm doing it with my hands, and I'm also doing it with my feet. Like on the piano, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen a person play the piano, but they have those pedals down there that are about sustain and dampening and things like that. Or an organist in a church organ, you play with your hands, but you also press things with your feet. That's what it's like. The more variables you can add, the better. Every single one of your toes can be pushing and pulling the levers of the cosmos. Every part of your body that you could possibly wiggle can be affecting the time field and pushing and pulling those levers of the cosmos. So just as my hands come together like this, I sometimes bring my feet together like this, or like this, or like this, the soles of my feet together, or even my knees, I'll bring my knees together. That's also measure break, because maybe my hands are busy. I can't do a measure break with my hands, measure break with my feet. So and that's also like, this is advanced level stuff. You work up to it, begin with the basics, and then work up to greater levels of difficulty. Also, this is cumulative. So let's say if you do the flying rainbow lasagna for 5 minutes one day, that's not the end of your journey. That's like laying down one layer of glaze in painting. If you do oil painting, you do many, many layers of glaze. You do a glaze, let it dry. Go out and have a walk at the park, come back, see if it's dry yet. Then you do another layer, another glaze. Or if you work on Photoshop, you can do many digital layers that all add up to create the total vision of what you're doing. So I've been dancing like a flying rainbow lasagna for many years. If you looked down the time tunnel, you would see me dancing like a lasagna, layered up in all of these different places at all of these different times. So I tell you this in order to understand, you don't have to do it all in one day. Even doing it for 5 minutes is valuable. Every time that you do it, you add to your art project, you add to your sculpture, you add another layer or another, you know, glaze of what you're doing. And it takes some time to, you know, manifest reality. Even though people sometimes get back to me, they're like, this manifestation thing really happens fast. Like, this lady wished for a job and she totally got the job. And she got the job that she wanted too. Simona, that makes me, you know, pretty happy. So I do it for as long as I feel like I want to or need to do it. This is just like doing yoga, doing stretching. Be like, did I stretch enough? I don't know. Do you feel like you stretched enough? Do you feel happy and comfortable? Or walking? Do you feel like you walked enough? Did you get enough exercise? Is your butt tired? If your butt's tired, you got enough exercise. So this is how I do my flying rainbow lasagna. And it makes me tired. And I feel like, oh, you know, I feel like I just did more than just sitting in a chair and moving my hands and legs. I feel like, wow, like I might need some juice or something like that, because I just used up a lot of energy. I might need some carbohydrates or something like that, you know, like some fruit juice or something. You know, because after I go for a long walk, I come back, I'm like, I need some mango juice or something. Do it as much as you feel like you need to or want to or have the time to do it, and then complete everything. Bring it all together, complete it for that day, and know and understand that your dance doesn't end just because you get up out of your chair. Just because you are not formally sitting and thinking about the flying rainbow lasagna. Just like if you go to the gym, you like work out, and then you go and do something else, like sit quietly and read a book. Your body is still being affected by everything you did during your workout. Your cell structure, your metabolism, your mitochondria are all still being affected by that workout. Same thing with flying rainbow lasagna. There are reverberations. You do it in the morning, your DNA is still reverberating that song later in the day. And you can also be like, well, you know something, I've done this flying rainbow lasagna. Like, first I'll check out all the bad news of the day, read everything on Google and be like, oh, this is all crazy crap that's going on. Then I'll do my flying rainbow lasagna, pardon me. And then I'll go back and look at the news again and be like, okay, what's new? What changed? What got rearranged? We're talking about solutions. And you don't have to consciously, while you're dancing, be like, I am dancing for a solution. You know, like this guy's a jerk who's in office and we got to change this and that. You don't have to do it that way. Again, this is beyond the rational mind and beyond the ego structure, because when I do flying rainbow lasagna, I'm connecting to all these other life forms, and I'm actually beyond just little Aurora. I'm actually like, wow, I'm part of the whole planet. I'm part of the whole galaxy. One's concerns become dilated. One's cares and concerns and your identity also becomes dilated. So it's not like I just care about whether I got toilet paper or whether I got mango juice. All of a sudden I'm like, wait, we got to have solutions that encompass the whole thing, that encompass all the other people, all the other organisms, all the other timelines and possibilities. So it is stepping out of one's ego perspective when you do this. And then, you come back to earth, you come back to your ego and be like, okay, then now let's turn on the news and see what's new, or like look on Facebook and see what has happened that is new. And also, like, not to be obsessive about it, but like, you'll be very surprised, be like, wow, like I danced and now this new thing, a new article came up, or this new thing was invented, or this new whatever. Let me get to questions, because I know that I'm almost at the end of my download and I know that there's lots of good, important things here. Okay. All right. So this is from Salu. And let me get a little bit closer so I can read this easier. She says, or they say, is flying rainbow lasagna a way of vibrating faster, higher in a particular flow? The answer is yes. It is literally getting another dimension so that you can do things faster, higher, just like instead of having to be a little ant walking in a linear sense across the surface of time, you can be a butterfly and flit from moment to moment. That I don't know if I would define that as faster. Like a butterfly can definitely get from here to here faster. But what if I fold fabric of space, time, and consciousness? I'm not moving at all. I'm bringing it all to me. I do that sometimes too. I will flying rainbow lasagna with deep antiquity, beings who lived in a Neolithic time, or indigenous beings of a far, far distant time. I'm sitting in my chair on my patio. And I'll connect with beings that are our descendants, who we will evolve into in many millions of years. Those beings I'll also connect with. So am I faster? We're basically transcending that definition of the word fast, because that is based in the measurement of distance. Joelle says, have you heard about the experiments the military did with placing someone's DNA in a petri dish in a separate room from the person that it came from? And their DNA contracted and expanded according to their emotions they were having. It was pretty cool. I've not heard of that experiment. That does sound very interesting. I heard of a different experiment that was done by some Russians, where what they did was took 2 test tubes. One had distilled water. One had distilled water with DNA. The water that had the DNA in it, they took the DNA out of it. And so there were like residual structural changes to that water that showed that it had once contained DNA. And the thing that was amazing is that the tube that had never contained any DNA also showed structural changes as if it had also had DNA in it. So this is how we can understand that DNA and the music that it sends out is non-local. It doesn't just mean that, oh, like I'm only affecting the people that are in my room or in my neighborhood, or the chairs that are specific, not chairs, the trees that are specifically growing around my house. I'm affecting the trees that are around my house. But because DNA is non-local, it's like a wireless broadcast that can go anywhere. It doesn't just have to be, this far away, because this is how far the plug goes. We can be affecting trees on the other side of the planet. We can be affecting trees that were from 100 years ago, or that will be in 100 years. DNA is non-local. We also begin to understand what's happening on this planet in terms of the struggle for freedom, for consciousness, is being mirrored and also played out on many other planets, in many other areas of the galaxy, and in many other galaxies. And when we're doing this with our DNA, we're affecting all of them. They're like, wait, new music is happening over on Earth. Maybe we can do something like that too, because what happened in one vial regarding DNA can affect another vial of DNA, even if they're far away, even if they're across the room from one another, even if they never actually poured water from one tube into another tube. So those guys on that other planet over there are actually being affected by what we are doing over here. And that's huge. It's a huge level of personal responsibility. And it's also a huge level of like inspiration. Like, we're all helping each other. We can all help and fix our mutual situation. Joelle also says they would show them different videos to get different emotional responses, the guys in the experiment, and then watch their DNA in the next room and it would respond. That is really fascinating. Thank you for telling me about that. Pedro says the lasagna joins the 2 different points and the dance opens the DNA. Exactly. Exactly. This is a joining together of 2 formerly divergent realms. And the 2 realms that are joined together into unity, they can be self versus context, like ego versus the world, Because the way it's usually been taught to us, the stupid fly, it's like everything that's inside of my epidermis is me, but everything that's outside my epidermis isn't me. But when you flying rainbow lasagna, you're like, wait a minute, all the stuff that's inside of me and all the stuff that's outside of me is talking together and communicating to the point where it's all kind of the same stuff. Just like if you have a cat and the cat is like, wants you to keep the door open all the time because it doesn't, it doesn't like you having to open and close the door. And at a certain point, it's like the air temperature of the room inside of the house and the air temperature of the room outside of the house equalize because you have kept the door open so long waiting for the cat to go out. So yes, it is, sorry, I'm just collecting my thoughts. Salu says, so when you fly rainbow lasagna, you can access any singularity. Not any singularity. There's only one singularity in the whole world. There's only one singularity in the whole world. It's like it's infinity. There are many different doorways to infinity. So it's like saying this room that I'm in, look, there's a door back there where I'm pointing. There's a window over there where I'm pointing. There's a door over there where I'm pointing. There's a door over there off screen. There's all these different apertures to get into the same room. Let's say this room is infinity. This room is the singularity. This room is the 0th dimension. There are an uncountable, literally, number of doorways to get into this room. Every single cell in your body has a doorway in it. Every person is their own portal or doorway. There's organisms everywhere. There's so many different doorways to infinity, but there's only one singularity. There's only one infinity. But don't take that basic abstract truth and misapply it to the anthropomorphic realm. Because if you're like, hey, everything and everyone is the singularity, therefore I will go hug and kiss a poisonous snake. Don't hug and kiss a poisonous snake because it is what it is, even though, yes, technically it's also part of the singularity because there's only one singularity. So there's a big difference between this understanding on an abstract level and then applying it and seeing clearly on the anthropomorphic level, because like poisonous snakes are what they are, and there are some really distorted people out there. And if you want to go around hugging and kissing everyone because you think everyone comes from the singularity, then it will be very dangerous and very not good. So that's why I'm a super responsible teacher. I will not tell anyone like don't take things out of context in the wrong way. So Salu also asks, I guess that would make sense to why telepathy is then possible. Exactly. Real telepathy, not synthetic telepathy, happens on a bridge of love between two people that, or multiple people that are all using that love tone. Love is a tone. They're all singing the love tone. Means you don't need microchips. You don't need video cameras. You definitely don't need molecules. You don't need to take an ayahuasca journey. You don't need to drink an elixir. You don't need to do anything other than have love, be connecting on that operating system, OS love. Yes. And this is also why we need to cultivate love in order to return to this telepathic society that we once had. Salut. Okay, all right. Oh, Joelle is asking, where can we view this animation? So, I've done it on several of these video conferences. What I want to do, because the animation is just a raw footage, I want to edit it together and put some awesome music to it. So I haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet, just as like a straight animation that you can just look at and put on an endless loop. That's my intention, and I have like high standards, so I want to make some of my own music with the harmonic instrument, so everything is tuned to 432 hertz. So animation coming on the way, all right? That's my answer to that. And Joelle says she's not sure if she's imagining FRL right, but doing my best. It is cumulative. It's exactly like playing the piano. And sometimes I'm good and I hit the right notes and some with the piano. And sometimes I'm like, okay, that wasn't exactly right. I'll do it better next time by practicing. So my encouragement to everyone is continue practicing and you continue getting better. Pedro asks about this. The bowl filling up doesn't work for me. I do the little spark that grows until it shines like the sun. Awesome. That is wonderful. Thank you for sharing your particular visualization. And what I would encourage everyone to do what works for them. Listen to the music that encourages and inspires you. Do the visualizations that encourage and inspire you. So if you want to envision there's a little tiny sun inside of you, and every time you breathe in, it gets bigger and expands and grows until it's a giant ball of light. Like, that's beautiful. Get creative. Be a jazz musician. You don't just have to play the notes that are written in the score. You can jazz it up. Innovate. That's our greatest strength, is innovation. Chloe has to go. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, I do. So Joelle asked, is there an animation to help visualize the Merkaba too? Yes, I have a standalone video that is all about the Merkaba. Again, I worked with a professional animator to do this, and it has a voiceover and it speaks explicitly about exactly what these things are. So you can check out it's on my YouTube channel. And at this point, it's several months back, so you might have to scroll or whatever. Yeah, good. You guys are telling each other where to find it. Oh, Sarah asks, is there a reason you don't use the color red much? I feel like I use the color red so much. My red is more of a magenta though, and that has to do with additive color mixing in light as opposed to pigment color mixing, if you're using paints. If you're printing with inks, where it's additive color mixing, it's magenta, cyan, and yellow are the three primary colors. And when I see with my inner eye, the red to me is not a fire engine red, it is much more of a pink magenta. So in all of these paintings, and usually in most of my paintings, that magenta is the primary color because there's always the most of the physical realm and then only a tiny little splash of violet at the top. So like for that painting that I'm pointing out with my finger there, I had to find some way to like work out the, I had to like work the system a little bit. I had to find some way to add extra violet. It's like if you like your chocolate chip cookies, not just with 1 or 2 chocolate chips, but like totally covered in chocolate chips on the top. You have to like tweak the recipe a little bit to add more chips so that it suits your tastes. That's what I did with that painting there, because usually violet is like the chocolate chips and there's just a little tiny bit of them, never enough in the recipe, right? But I wanted like solid chocolate chips on my cookies, so I changed the recipe a little bit in order to be able to do it. Yes, good, Salu, about doorways. Wonderful. Joelle also says, I have heard that the sun simulators are being used to hide what's going on with the sun right now. Is it safe to be sun gazing with the simulated light? Good, you understand about magenta. Okay, so when I do sun gazing, I almost always wear a hat. I have a cool rainbow hat. The hat shades my physical eyes from the sun. Guess what? I also put on jojoba oil mixed with other essential oils. My skin is pale ordinarily. You know, like I'm pretty tan right now. I put on sun protectant. That's what I'm trying to say. Put some coconut oil on or carrot seed oil, jojoba, whatever you got, guys. Like I don't recommend, you know, the nanoparticulate titanium dioxide sunscreens, but put something on so that you're not just sitting dry in front of the sun, or, you know, protect yourself. Our eyes are sensitive. Our skin is sensitive. Yes, there are artificial impediments to connecting with the sun, but none of them can prevent you from psychically connecting with the sun. So let's say they're spraying a bunch of freaking chemtrails. I hate the freaking chemtrails. Maybe they're making it hazy or cloudy outside. They, overlords, the awful ones, so that you can't have a beautiful sunny day like we have today. You can still sun gaze, even if it's a cloudy, rainy day. I lived for years up in Humboldt County, California, where it's cloudy and rainy all the time. And I had to, in order to survive, learn how to eat even if it was a cloudy day. So what I do is I have this Herkimer crystal, that, like a physical rock of crystal that I would put outside on sunny days, charge it up like my batteries. And then on days when it was cloudy and there wasn't physical sun, I'd put the crystal in my mouth and I would get the energy from there. So it's just a few cautions: only use a food safe crystal like quartz that's inert, or, you know, something like that, that you know doesn't have any occlusions or anything that would dissolve and go into your body that you wouldn't want to ingest. So someone once told me, like, don't tell people to eat crystals unless you're telling them safe crystal eating. Safe crystal licking, everyone, okay? Only lick safe crystals. But yes, even if there's, pardon my French, techno-fuckery going on in terms of the sun, blocking it out, or putting a simulator up there. It's like a giant human grow light. Like, we'll put a grow light on the earth so they won't know what's going on. Yeah, you can still get beyond that. You don't have to have that. It's not a limitation to your practice in any way. So please do not be concerned, because there's this tendency, I think, to think like, oh no, like those, the losers, they're so powerful. Don't give them more power than they actually have. They're actually not very powerful. You and I are actually way more powerful than they are, with just our birthday suit. That's the whole point of this flying rainbow lasagna. I'm an extraterrestrial, and I came here, and this is my spaceship, and I don't need a clank clank metal spaceship, and I don't need a ray gun to shoot someone, and I don't need any of the technological things that they use in order to control and subvert humanity or to try to control other people. It's not my way to try to control people. And all of this is being done naturally with my natural physical body. That's another big one. That's why I always say to everyone, I'm not a transhumanist. I don't have microchips in me. I wouldn't recommend getting a neural lace. I'm not part of the Borg. Don't eat the black goo. There's this guy, Harold Klautzvella, and he was teaching all about Morgellons and black goo and everything like that. And one day he ate the black goo, and then he totally changed. I mean, what do you think is going to happen when you eat black goo? But yeah, he got assimilated. He got hijacked by a parasite, and he's not himself anymore. Like, I'm not just talking shit about someone. Like, proceed with caution. But the whole point is, yeah, you don't need any magic elixirs. You don't need white gold or anything like that. I have gold in me. You know how I got it? I fly in rainbow lasagna with a bunch of gold particles. Take it. You want gold? You don't need to drink an elixir that you buy on the internet for a bunch of money. Go get the gold. You on one end connect with gold on the other end, flying rainbow lasagna with the gold. I eat tons of gold. And then you know what I do? I send it out to all of you guys too. Because I'm like, hey, you need gold? Send it to you. Send it to you. It's in your DNA. So the encryption packet, you can connect with me telepathically in order to get that. Just like CNET on the website has free software downloads of open source code, whatever you need for your computer, word processing, whatever. On my telepathic Dropbox link, I have put a packet of how to encrypt your DNA. When I say your thumbprint should unlock your DNA, that's what I'm talking about. You can run this program so that no one else, no demonic hijackers are jumping into your body and be like, oh yeah, cool. I'm going to take like your perfectly envisioned world and smash it up and mush it up and make it look ugly and gross. And they try to do that with your body too. Be like, oh, my body's looking great. And they'll be like, you're fat, you're ugly, you have cellulite, you have stretch marks. And they'll try to make you feel bad about your body. Turn to them and say this. This is one of Aurora's things. You don't even have a body. Like, how can you criticize my body? I have a body. Even the fattest body with stretch marks is better than those freaking demons. They don't even have an ass, much less they should criticize your ass, okay? This is what I'm talking about. And that it's not just about the appearance of our body. It's about the functioning of our body. Never get a clone body. Don't incinerate your original body and get a clone body. You know why? Because your body has provenance. That means all of the cells of your body are made of photons, are made of light that came from the sun. There's a story of all of those photons, where they came from and what they're doing inside of you and where they're going to. That's priceless. That is way more multi-layered, complex, beautiful than anything that can be simulated in a lab, is what I'm trying to say. Even if the beings that are simulated in the lab have perfect, flawless skin, no, they're disgusting and gross. They're not real. And they don't have lasting staying power. Like, if you play real music, that chord emanates and emanates and emanates. Or if you have focused laser light, it keeps going forever. If you have horrible music, it's horrible music. That music does not have longevity. Those clones, they're like Kleenex. Get a new one, get a new one, you get a new one. That's what these whatever rich people are doing. Get a new clone. This one's degraded. Of course it's degraded. It's like cheap, like made out of cheap plastic. It's not good stuff. Okay, thank you. Okay, Joelle is saying gold and all those monoatomic minerals can be found in sea salt too. Very good point, that you don't have to pay a lot of money. That's why I offer scholarships. So I tell everyone, you do this with your birthday suit. That's why I didn't patent the lasagna. None of this should be kept away or limited by whether you got money. You can do this even if you have $0. And I will tell you, there are some times when I had $0 and I did it anyway. But here's what you do need. You need your body. You need your body to be happy and healthy and, free as you can possibly be. You need to have physical food to eat. You need to have good fresh water to drink. Come on up, Cheeky. We're almost done. Oh, you need to have sunlight, and you need to have a place where you can dance unmolested. So, if you're trying to do it like on the subway or whatever, I don't know, it might not be the ideal place to be waving your arms around or whatever. But yeah, you gotta have a place where you can dance and not be considered so socially unacceptable that you would be disturbing the people around you. And that's all you need. And that's not that much. I have a house, I have electrons running in my light bulb, I have food in my refrigerator, I have toilet paper, and I have enough to do the flying rainbow lasagna. So we don't need to be millionaires, billionaires. This is not only for special people, an elite club. It's for real people that have willpower, that are real musicians of consciousness, and that are really willing to do the work and run this marathon. It's a marathon. It can be very grueling. It can be very challenging. So I try to encourage everyone as much as possible. Like, start doing it, practice. You can do it, and we're really getting someplace with this. It's not just like standing in one place or running on a hamster wheel. We're really transforming reality, and we're transforming our own individual bodies. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I definitely need to take Dog Boss for a walk. She's been super patient the whole time. I think it's cooling down outside and she wants to go get some exercise. So if there are any more questions, I'm happy to take them. If not, I'm going to end the recording. Please, if you are not yet enrolled and you love watching my videos, thank you for tuning in on YouTube or other places or watching the archives, and please enroll. And if you don't have enough money for your electrons flowing in a wire, you got to pay your electric bill or whatever, and you don't have money, contact me for a scholarship. I'm going to take a week off, and then we're going to, in the week of the summer solstice, return to doing the next semester, start from the beginning again. And yes, I'll do level 1 and level 2. If you're in level 1, stay on board, join up for level 2. If you're on Patreon, and I have not yet given you the level 2 links, contact me. I'll give you the level 2 links. Bedtime for you, Chris. I understand completely. Maybe you're in the UK or something like that. Cheeky needs a walk. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Pedro says, love the lasagna. Thank you. The lasagna loves you back. And I want to just, this is like wrapping up the semester. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful class. You helped to preserve my sanity, or help me to feel, let's say, less isolated. If I didn't connect with other people that were also lasagnas like me, I would feel very lonely and isolated. So I'm so happy that we have the band. I love the music that we're working on and innovating here. Thank you for sharing your own ideas and your own perspectives. And let's keep the band going. We're just going to take a little week off, have a little breathing space, and I'm going to maybe, do a little advertising and make people aware that the next semester is starting and new faces will come on board. And also, if you're enrolled, you never have to re-enroll. So if you've been here now, or if you want to take time off, or if you want to jump back in, you're always welcome. It's a one-room schoolhouse. Come share your ideas, take time off, return. There's no pressure. It's not that type of thing. I'm not that type of an art teacher. So thank you very much. I'm going to end the recording, and thank you very much for a wonderful semester, everyone.